Contra! Hey everyone, and welcome back. So today we just got a brand new Nintendo Direct. Now normally, I think you all know I try to stream these live. Unfortunately today I just couldn't get the work schedule to work, so unfortunately we're going to be doing this reaction video instead. Now maybe just to start out, I do want to say I don't really get the reactions that are coming out online today, saying that this is proof that the Nintendo Switch is done and whatnot, although I am definitely convinced we're getting a new console next year. I in no way see this Direct as proof that the current Nintendo Switch is completely done. I mean, were there any console-breaking major AAA games released? No, but I think there were a bunch of solid titles with a little bit of something for everyone, and you know what? A bunch of these titles kept putting an awesome smile on my face when I was watching the replay. And if a Direct like this is proof that the Nintendo Switch is done, did you watch the State of Play today? But you know what, we're not going to get into that in today's video, but what we are going to do is look at each one of the announcements that we got from today's Nintendo Direct. Obviously, some will be going over faster than others, especially when there aren't games that really spoke to me in any way, and focusing more on the ones that I found most interesting. And if you saw the intro, I think you already know what one of my biggest announcements of today was. Contra! Now, let's jump in, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you aren't already. Our first major announcement for today was some DLC for Splatoon 3, and you know what? I am super interested in this DLC. To be perfectly honest, I got into the online scene for the first few weeks of the game, I put it aside, and unfortunately I never really came back to it. However, the fact that they're going to be launching a more single-player focused campaign, and one that they say will have a lot of replayability, you know what? This just might make me pick up the game again. Either way, it's releasing in spring of 2024, I'll be picking it up and we can all check it out together. Now next came probably one of my favorite announcements of the whole Direct, and once again, I don't quite get the reaction of a lot of people online. Now of course, I would have probably liked to see a solo Donkey Kong game, but nonetheless, the Mario vs. Donkey Kong franchise is regarded as one of the most underrated games from the Game Boy Advanced era. And yes, it does turn Mario into more of a puzzle platformer type of gameplay, but trust me, it is super addictive and extremely fun. And although some of the early levels are pretty simple, trust me, further down the game, it does take quite a bit of little brain power. Either way, I really hope people get behind the release of this game. Trust me, it's most likely going to be worth it, and we will find out once again for this one on February 16th of 2024. Now next, we have the game that I hate to love. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, releasing on January 18th, has me super excited for, yes, an Ubisoft released game. And to be totally honest, it's been a long time that I haven't been excited for an Ubisoft release. But you know what, the more I see of this game, the more I get interested. And I'm super glad they're trying out, once again, a 2.5D perspective. Now do me a favor everyone, if this game actually turns out to be good, please buy it. Support a franchise like this from Ubisoft so we stop getting just live service games and Assassin's Creed. Now next, we'll go over the next two games a little quickly. Now first, we got a stealth drop for Horizon Chase 2. Now personally, I love these arcade style games. The only unfortunate thing is it's releasing in a time of the year where I'm not sure I can put any time into it. But definitely once things calm down a little bit or it hits a sale, I'll definitely be picking this one up. Then we have a game that I'm actually totally not interested in. Super Crazy Rhythm Castle, which is releasing on November 14th. Looks like an interesting rhythm game, but I'm not really all that into. There also seems to be a really important co-op aspect to the game, but you know, this isn't my thing. Let's move to the next one. Now the next game really didn't speak to me either, and that is Spy Anya Operation Memories, which seems to be a sort of investigative game, however with cutesy anime style graphics, featuring a very young principal character. Look, I'm sure this one will be tons of fun for the right audience, that just isn't me. Now next, they brought us back to take another look at Super Mario RPG coming out on November 17th. Now this is another game I am super hyped for. If you've never played a Mario RPG before, definitely look at picking this one up. It is an absolutely amazing experience, and I would even say it caters to an audience that isn't even normally into RPGs. Now, although this wasn't a brand new announcement, once again, this is another game that each time Nintendo showcases it, it looks better and better each and every time. Ultimately, although it's not new news, it's still a really great part of the Direct. Next, we have a franchise that I actually personally am not familiar with. However, after looking into it, I am very interested for this next release. And that is going to be another Code Recollection, which is basically a remaster of Trace Memory and also its sequel that never got a release in North America before. Now, this is an investigative game once again, but the main protagonist is a much older character, and there's a spookiness factor that I can tell from this trailer. Now, this is the kind of investigative game that I can definitely get behind. Unfortunately, we don't have a specific release date, but it's supposed to be coming early next year. Now, next, we have probably what I would call one of my biggest surprises of the Direct, and that is the Princess Peach game that actually finally now got a real title, which is Princess Peach Showtime. Now, although we got a little tidbit of this game before, now this really fleshed out what the gameplay will look like. And you know what? I wasn't expecting to really be super interested in this game, but after this trailer, I definitely am. And looking through the gameplay, it actually reminded me a lot of the concept from Luigi's Mansion 3. You know, where every floor of the hotel was like a totally different experience and different mechanics? Well, this sort of seems like the same thing, but with a Princess Peach twist to it. So if Princess Peach can deliver a similar experience, but with a totally different twist to it, this just might turn out to be one of the best releases of next year. Because yes, we got a solid release date of March 22nd. Now next we saw Saga Emerald Beyond that is supposed to be releasing in 2024. Unfortunately, although I'm usually into the Saga series, this one I really didn't connect with. I don't know if it's because I'm not into the art style or just gets overshadowed by some other announcements, but for the moment, I'm just not into it. Now next we got an announcement that I had heard about from some sources before, and I'm super happy to know that it's a real thing, which is the remaster of the first 3 Tomb Raiders thrown into one collection. Honestly, for some really early 3D games, even the original versions of the graphics are looking pretty clean, and the remaster is actually looking, in my opinion, really good for these games. And these are probably 3 of the best entries of the whole Tomb Raider series. So if you've never played the game before, this is a super good way to get an introduction. And it'll be coming out on February 14th of next year. Now next, we got another look at Detective Pikachu Returns. Now we're not really going to talk about this game because they copyrighted each and every time. It's coming out on October 6th. It looks like a decent follow-up to the original game, although I wish they would have done some better graphics for it. Now next, we got probably the most unusual shadow drop of the day, which is Trombone Champ. Now this looks like another weird rhythm game that can be played in co-op. You can even use the IR sensor. Now, although personally I'm not really into this game, I have a sneaking suspicion my kids might want to pick it up. Now next, we saw 2 more games that once again I'm not super into. Battle Crush Online looks like an online battler. We'll see how that turns out, but we've already got a lot of options in that category. Next, we also got another shadow drop, which was War Tales. Now this looks like a strategy RPG that can actually be played online in co-op. Now although the concept looks interesting, the graphics look awful. And with all the crazy games coming out right now, I really don't think I'll be visiting this one anytime soon. Now next, we got probably, at least for me, the best announcement of this whole Direct. Yes, we are getting a reimagining of the first Contra game. But probably the best news overall, it's being done in collaboration with WayForward, that really knows how to remaster games. Because God knows, Contra's been done dirty in the past. Now visually and gameplay wise, this game is looking freaking amazing, and it looks like it's going back to the roots of some good old-fashioned run-and-gun gameplay. Unfortunately, we don't get a solid release date, but it's supposed to be early next year. And you know what? Before we move on to anything else, let's get one last double dose. Contra! Contra! The best looking game with the worst ever title goes to Unicorn Overlord, that should be releasing on March 8th. But honestly, this game looks almost like a twist of a management game meets a strategy RPG. The art style looks fantastic, and although the title should definitely be reworked, nonetheless, I'm super excited for this release. And we do have a solid release date. This one's supposed to be coming out on March 8th. Now next, we got a look at the remaster of Luigi's Mansion 2. And visually, once again, this game is looking great. I mean, we'll definitely have to see it in action first, but visually, it's looking very close to the amazing experience we got in Luigi's Mansion 3. The only bummer for this one is we'll have to wait all the way till summer 2024. Next, Nintendo announced that they're opening up a museum in Kyoto. Looks fun, but I'm most likely not visiting Kyoto anytime soon, so let's move on. So now we got the announcement for 5 new amiibos. First, we got Ganondorf and Zelda that should be coming out on November 3rd. Definitely picking up these two. Then they also showed us Noah and Mio from Xenoblade that should be coming out on January 19th. I'm lukewarm on these two. And lastly, they let us know that we will be getting the last Smash character that was missing, Sora. However, this one we're not getting a solid release date, just the fact that it's on the way. This one I'm seriously interested in. Next, we get to the best shadow drop of the whole direct. Yes, that's right, we are getting F-Zero back on the Nintendo Switch, however in a brand new format with F-Zero 99. With gameplay based off of the Super Nintendo of F-Zero, yes sir, you'll be playing online with 98 other people. However, it's not just the standard F-Zero gameplay, there's a bunch of new mechanics thrown in so that it works in the 99 format, and an awesome power-up mode that lets you blast over everyone. Obviously, a brand new F-Zero game would have been better, but this is a very close second. Now next, I'll be putting these two games together. We got the announcement of 2 more League of Legends games. We got Bandle Tale, a League of Legends story, and we got Song of Nunu, a League of Legends story. Now, Bandle Tale seems more like a cozy, fun little game to pick up. It's supposed to be releasing in 2024. However, the game that I'm really interested out of these two is Song of Nunu, that actually reminds me a lot of Bayonetta Origins' Cereza. And if you haven't been following the releases of the different League of Legends games, they've been putting out a ton of games in different gaming categories, and you know what? Pretty much all the games turn out to be really solid. Now, Song of Nunu is coming out on November 1st. This one will be hard to work into the calendar, but I definitely will try. Next, we got another look at WarioWare Move It. And you know what? They just lost me with this trailer, unfortunately. Look, I can get behind some wacky gimmick gameplay, but when you have me standing up, putting my Joy-Con behind my butt, yeah, you sort of lose me. I am glad that they're at least focusing on a multiplayer format. It might turn out to be a great party game. But I also felt that I got burned by the previous release, so I'm most likely only going to pick this one up if it goes majorly on sale. Now stick with me just a little bit longer, we're getting to the end of this list, and this is why I said I don't quite understand why people are saying this is a mid-direct showing that the Switch has nothing left. Because you know what, we just went over a ton of really solid games, and we still have some really good ones left. Now the next game I don't really know all that much about, it seems to have been pushed back a couple of times before. And that is Eiyuden Chronicles 100 Heroes, which should be releasing on April 23rd. It looks like it has an awesome art style, some interesting gameplay. I hope we find out more before April 23rd. We'll look at this game again in the future. Next, we got some really good news. We're going to get to go back to Eastward, because yes, we're getting some DLC. Now we don't see much. It's supposed to be called Octopia. It's going to be releasing this holiday season, so we won't even have to wait very long. Now the next game showcased is Wargroove 2. This seems to be a highly underrated game announced in this direct. Because you know what? Wargroove 1 is one of the best strategy RPG indies we have. And the fact that it's releasing on October 5th means that we're going to get to play it in only about 2.5 weeks. Now, I'm hoping the game delivers, but if it does, this is one that you should definitely not be sleeping on. Now next, we jump into Dave the Diver, which seems like an extremely interesting gaming concept. Now, I know this is already out on other platforms, but personally, this is my first time hearing about it. But the concept seems amazing. You go deep sea diving, hunting for different fish, and then you get to serve it in your restaurant at night. The concept seems amazing. The gameplay loop sounds really addictive, and you know what? On October 26th, we're going to get to figure that out. As we wind down to the end of this direct, Nintendo next jumps into the final wave of Mario Kart DLC that should be releasing for this holiday season. And you know what? This DLC is really wrapping up some loose ends, adding in some characters that a lot of people have been waiting for, like Diddy Kong, Funky Kong, Pauline, and Peachette. I really am glad that we're finally getting this little bit of DLC, because at this point, Nintendo's either going to have to move to the next Mario Kart, or repackage this for the Nintendo Switch 2. Then they let us know that Among Us is getting a brand new map that should be releasing in October. It'll be a free update. I really am not playing Among Us at all anymore. Maybe my kids will jump back into it. And now finally, we get that one last thing of today's Direct. And trust me, it is a great one last thing. We are getting a GameCube remaster that a lot of people have been asking for. Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. Now, many people will just argue that this is the best Paper Mario of the whole series. And personally, I tend to agree with them. This is most likely going to be one of the top, if not the best Paper Mario for almost anyone who will play it. Personally, I think this was a great way to end today's Direct. It's something that a lot of people have been asking for. Of course, I would have loved to hear about Metroid Prime 4, but you know what? I think they're keeping that for the Switch 2. However, the only slightly disappointing thing about the announcement of Thousand Year Door is all we got is that it's supposed to be releasing in 2024, which means we could be waiting quite a while. So there we have it. And you know what? I counted it up. That is 31 separate announcements. Now, although I do admit there aren't any blockbuster AAA games that are going to change the landscape of gaming, you know what? Out of those 31 games, I would say at least 20 or more are extremely solid announcements. Now, this is the poll you guys answered on the channel. And you know what? At least I'm in sort of agreement with the majority. I would put this Direct in between an A and a B. Let's just say sort of like a B+. Because as I said, I do agree, to maybe get that A or S tier, it would have taken that blockbuster landscape-changing announcement. But you know what? Nonetheless, we got a ton of solid announcements. And although I still think a new Switch is coming next year, I don't think we've heard the last of this edition of the Nintendo Switch. So now, let me know what you all think in the comments down below. Now, on the way out, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and click on that notification bell so you know when all my future content comes out. And as usual, I hope I'll see you in my next video. Contra!